I'm Joy Mayer with Trusting News. At Trusting News, we help journalists rebuild trust with the public through engagement and transparency. Today, we're going to talk about how to fight back when people discredit your political coverage. It is tempting to get frustrated or roll your eyes and walk away, but we firmly believe at Trusting News that you need to be ready to defend your credibility and to have a counter narrative. When people present you with something that's not true about your work, be ready to say what is true. So we're going to talk about this first through the lens of comments, because a lot of feedback to journalism comes in the form of a comment section. And so we would like to encourage you to show some humility and diplomacy, but not be afraid to jump right in there. For example, if you are accused of having a liberal bias, which many of us have been, try to acknowledge where the user is coming from. It's a complicated time to be a news consumer. It can be very frustrating. So try saying, we definitely hear how frustrating and biased political coverage can seem. Our goal is always to provide you with the information you need to make decisions. You can read about our goals and ethics here and tell people where to find those things. We strive for fairness and accuracy in our reporting, and we want to know how we can do a better job. Feel free to send me more specific feedback at my email address. Be clear, invite feedback, and explain what makes your work credible. Now, when we talk about comments, it is not all newsrooms have a practice of being involved in comments, but we like to think about comments as if they're a physical party you're hosting. Imagine if you stocked the bar at your house, laid out some food, turned on the music, threw open the doors, and invited everybody inside, and then left and just hoped everybody would be on good behavior. It's not going to happen. A party requires a host who takes responsibility for the conversation and who gets rid of the jerks, so that if somebody needs to be shown the door, we need to call a cab for an unruly party guest, we do that so that that guest doesn't ruin the time of the rest of the guests who are respecting each other and following the rules. So it's easy to think of that your community is made up of jerks, but they're not. They're not all jerks. Online commenters might tend a little bit more toward jerk than the average population, but a lot of reasonable people are also consuming your information, and you disrespect them when you let jerks take over the comment section. So have a comment policy that empowers you to kick the jerks out and use it and link to it and be consistent with it. Then have a counter narrative. Explain yourself. Be willing to leave a comment that explains your actions. So here's one small example when somebody was frustrated that they were seeing a lot of coverage of a Democratic primary and not a Republican primary. And this newspaper said, thanks for your question. Because of our limited resources, we had to focus our attention on the most competitive race, which is this. Be assured that when we reach the general election, you'll see coverage from both parties. It might seem obvious that newsrooms have to protect their resources and make decisions carefully, but if we don't explain those decisions, they're invisible to our audience, to the people we aim to serve. Leaving a comment like this does not take a lot of time, and it can go a long way toward helping the public understand that you have thoughtful decision-making and consistent ethics behind your work. One more example from our partners at PolitiFact. When Angie Holan was writing a newsletter during the Republican National Convention, she provided answers to two questions she'd been hearing from their readers. Where is your fact-checking of the Democrats? And she explained how they had fact-checked the DNC, just like they were fact-checking the RNC. And then, you seem to fact-check Republicans more than Democrats. Are you biased? And she addresses that head on. Our goal is to not to make either party or position look good. We do tend to fact-check provocative statements that sound wrong, and that might be why that's leading to a perception. But here's where you can read more about how we decide what facts to check. So, don't be afraid to write an explanation of what you wish people knew about your political coverage. What makes it fair? What makes it ethical and consistent? How do you in the newsroom hold each other accountable? And how do you welcome feedback? Here's where you can learn more about Trusting News. We have a weekly newsletter that we send that is one quick actionable tip for earning trust. And we are running a 10-day text message course on trustworthy election coverage. So you can look down below to find links to those things.